Do you hear that? That is not good. That is the worst sound. I can't believe I did this. Do you recognize that sound? Oh no. Can you hear it? Can you hear that hissing? I just necked the tube on the Pengo monitor. This is the G07 that was otherwise dead. Oh my goodness. I was trying to take the neck off of the tube, and there was all of this hot glue on it, holding it together, which is not uncommon. And I'm gently rocking it back and forth, and the socket was really just holding on to those pins. And I was gently, I know, bad idea. I had a screwdriver, and I was just really gently prying it back and forth, just like a millimeter at a time. And I'm not exactly sure where the issue is in here, but you can sort of see the fogginess now of the neck right there, and that hiss. That means the vacuum has been compromised. Do you hear it? And this thing is filling with air, and I have necked the tube. Oh, come on, Charlie. Some other weirdness here. Obviously, we had the power was just, there were some crimp nuts connecting it to the transformer. And this yoke connector has been broken apart into individual plugs here on pins from left to right, 1, 2, 3, skipping 4, and on 5. The chassis is not that filthy, but I just necked this tube. Unbelievable. And I wasn't even filming yet. I wasn't even filming yet. I had taken it out of the Pengo cabinet. And last time I mentioned that, I really didn't know how to take the monitor out entirely. I thought I would have to just remove the chassis, but Ty on Twitter, said it was probably like a universal cabinet, and sure enough, I unscrewed a couple of things, and the whole wood bracket frame piece came out. But I necked this tube. Oh my goodness, what am I gonna do?
Overtime!
Of course, this happens on a a full moon of all nights. The demons are out tonight. The tube demons. So best I can figure, this is what I think happened. It looks like there was some glue inside the socket. You can kind of see it right there, like even pulling around one of those pinholes. And I think that was really just holding on to the neck, or maybe the pins, or one of the pins real firmly. And once I sort of pulled it off, I don't know if it dislodged a pin, and that compromised the vacuum and let all the air rush in. But yeah, this tube is now basically a a paperweight. So I've got it marked as necked, so that neither I nor anyone else tries to use it again. And you can see it's got both Time Soldiers burn, and there is also, you can see the Sega logo there somewhere. There's Pengo burn on this tube. But yeah, this tube is a goner. So not only is this chassis bad, the tube is bad too. And I also noticed an issue on the gauze wires here, got burnt up a bit up against one of these resistors. So we're going to have to address that. So the issue is, and I could do like a tube swap. The issue is that tube swaps with the G07 are notoriously difficult. One of the reasons is is that the G07 has what's considered a high impedance or high resistance yoke. So on one of the axes, I got them, I don't know, horizontal and vertical. One of them is about 2 ohms, which is pretty typical, and the other one's about 50 ohms, which is quite high. So it's hard to find a tube with a yoke that'll be a drop-in replacement for a G07. So notoriously difficult to do that. You usually have to swap a new tube in with the old yoke, and then you have all kinds of convergence issues that you have to sort out, that sort of thing. But as luck would have it, and based on the beginning of this video, I'm not the luckiest person. I recently picked up this dinky little monitor for free. So I was coming home from visiting my family, my parents up in Connecticut, and I saw a listing, I think it was on Craigslist, for a free arcade monitor. And this is it's made by Algol. I think they were also known at one point as ATI, different than the ATI graphics card company, but this is a CRM 19HH. And there really isn't, I guess, a ton known about it. The arcade monitor guru, Ken Layton, rest in peace, referred to this thing as a piece of junk, and I'm cleaning that up for a PG audience. I guess for the longest time there weren't even schematics or a manual available for this chassis, and man, this thing is just a mess. The neck board is cracked and flexing. But a couple things interesting. I tested I measured the resistance or the impedance on the yoke, and it's a pretty close match for the G07. One of them is 2 ohms, and the other axis is about 50 ohms, I think just under 50 ohms. So that should be close enough for a drop-in replacement into the G07. I also hooked it up to my rejuvenator. And at first, the guns were reading a little bit low. Rejuvenated them, especially the blue. And if you notice up here, there's a little handwritten note in Sharpie that says "No blue, tube good," and said "good as of October 1989." So, yeah, hooking this up to the rejuvenator, I've now got all 3 guns, all 3 color guns, testing good. So, I'm hoping I can swap this tube in. So basically, what I'm going to do is remove the old tube, which is where is it? Right over here. As you can see, this is a 19V-MNP22, pretty standard for a G07. And the new tube is a Chunghwa 510 SLB22. So that's technically, I guess, a Japanese market monitor with a 510 millimeter size. And this is an American market 19-inch tube, but they should hopefully be compatible. So yeah, I'm going to remove the old tube from the frame, disconnect it, all the connections, and unscrew everything, unbolt it. And then I'm going to try to put the new tube in. So wish me luck, and I'll let you know how things turn out. Okay, the replacement tube went in okay. It's mounted into the frame. I think technically this is a smaller tube. I believe it's a Japanese-made 510 millimeter tube as opposed to an American 19-inch tube, but we should be okay. So hopefully that's going to work. Yeah, went in okay, no problem. But before we're able to test it, there's a bunch of stuff that I wanted to do. So I took the chassis out. I installed a cap kit into the chassis, and it's a good thing I had my t-shirt that's got the silk screen from the part side of the G07 chassis showing the correct polarity for capacitor C302 printed on the front of the t-shirt. And on the back of the t-shirt is the infamous silkscreen error from the solder side of the G07 chassis PCB with the incorrect polarity for that capacitor. And yeah, having that t-shirt is a great reminder to be careful and make sure that you put that capacitor in the right way, because if you don't, it can explode. So if you want to get a t-shirt like that for yourself, down below this video there's a link to my official merchandise store, and everything there is currently 20% off for a very limited time. I think that sale expires the day after this video comes out, so hurry up if you want to get one of those for a great price. And yeah, so in addition to the cap kit, I put a new reproduction flyback into the chassis. I also went ahead and replaced the fuses. I didn't actually have any of the correct fuse clips left. Unfortunately, I only had the wrong ones. They're side by side and up and down ones, and I had the wrong ones, so I'm gonna have to order some more. So I had to solder in some replacement pigtail fuses into the chassis, and you can kind of see them. There's one right here. I think that's F902, and F901 is right here. And so we've got new ones in there. When I took the fuses out, F901, the original F901 was blown. I tested the hot, which is actually over here, the horizontal output transistor, and it wasn't shorted to the frame, so I think it's okay. Yeah, maybe the flyback went bad or that sort of thing. So yeah, new flyback, cap kit, new fuses. Another thing I did was replace the headers for the yoke connector, which are right there, if you can see them. I was reflowing the original, which is out over here, and I just didn't like the way that it was looking. And I had a new one, so I threw a new set of yoke headers in there, and then I reflowed a bunch of other stuff, all the video signal headers and sync and that sort of thing. So I think we're doing pretty good. There's a couple more things, though, again, that I want to do before we're ready to put this all back together and test it. I want to replace this socket. So if you can see right here, one of the I guess pins, the female pins in the socket almost looks like it has glue inside it or is melted a little bit. And I don't know if this is, really what caused the vacuum to escape the tube. I don't know if if that's glue or if it just melted and got kind of fused to the pin and pulled that pin out of the back of the tube enough to let the vacuum out. But I don't want to risk it. I don't really want to try to clean that or anything, so I'm just going to install a new CR23 socket that I got from arcadepartsandrepair.com. So we'll do that. I also want to put an actual power plug onto the chassis instead of just wire nuts. And there's a couple of things I need to do to get the tube ready itself. So let me get the tripod set up and we'll knock these things out real quick. Okay, to replace this socket, I'm going to try to set up my helping hands here to sort of stabilize this little neckboard PCB. And sometimes it's a little work to get it into exactly the position that you want. All right, I'll come in with my flux pen and put some flux on all of these pins. There's this one over here. And I'll use the new one kind of as a template to make sure I'm not missing any of them. A little bit of flux. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Is that right? I guess there's a couple of extra holes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yep, okay. All right. So there's the flux. And I'm going to come in, and you've seen me do this before. I'm going to add a little bit of fresh solder to each joint. And that'll make it a lot easier to remove the solder. Solder helps melt solder. All right. And each of these pins on the solder side are kind of marked. So we have the G1 voltage, the G2, GK, RK, and BK are RGB, I believe. I'm not entirely sure what H9 and H10 are all about. And I don't know if this is the best nozzle size for my desoldering gun, but we'll give it a go. And I've been having a lot of trouble with this desoldering gun getting clogged up and whatever. Just one left. Come on, let go. There we go. All right, dropped right out. Top looks okay again. I don't know if that's glue or what. Maybe that was glue also holding the, maybe that's how they manufacture it. They put some glue on to kind of hold it in place. But, let's see, I need to get the, I think this is the focus wire? Grab a screwdriver. Usually to pop this cover off, a little flathead screwdriver helps. There we go. And we can unsolder the, again, I believe this is the focus wire that goes to the neck board or neck socket. Just a little fresh solder on. And then remove it. Actually, you know, I can just cut this. I'm gonna have to cut it anyway. All right. Okay, so there's our old socket that we can say goodbye to. And here's our new one. Looks pretty good. I'm going to remove the cover while we've got it out, just so that it makes it a tad easier instead of doing it after it's been installed. Okay, and if you can see, there's a little eyelet there that the focus wire hooks onto and is soldered into place, so that'll be good. And let's see, we'll line this up. All right, there we go. I think I know why they glued it. Every time I got it lined up and everything lined in, popped in, the the whole thing wants to slide out, so I need to tack this in place real quick. Grab a little solder on my soldering iron tip. And we'll just do this one. And one more, just because that one doesn't look that secure. And again, okay, that should hold. And we'll get our, I always want to call these the jaws of life. They're not the jaws of life, they are helping hands. Okay. And now we can solder the new socket in. Okay, that looks pretty good, but of course, we will double test continuity with our multimeter. Okay. I think we are in, that one looks just a tad. We're good to go now. All right. I'm going to say that looks good. And then we need to connect again. I think this is the focus wire, but I'm sure Professor Pac-Man will correct me if I've got that wrong. And we need to strip this. And this is kind of a difficult, these wires are difficult to strip. Oh, that worked perfectly. I jinxed myself in a good way. And just twist this a little bit more. Okay, I'm going to put a little hook in it with my needle nose pliers. All right, I've got a little hook. And this will go into the eyelet. Hook that into the eyelet. There we go. Sort of feed it through like that. And then I like to come in. And yeah, I know this can cause problems later, but I like to, even once it's in the eyelet, close it a little bit more, just so we get a really, really good connection. All right, this does make it, that makes it trickier to remove later if we need to. But with the G07, you know, the focus wire goes to the adjustment block. It does not connect directly to the flyback itself. So even if we needed to, you know, put yet another replacement flyback in at some point in the future, we would have no need to remove this wire. Again, I think it's the focus wire. So there's no reason not to make it just a super secure connection. All right, I think we're good there. So now we've got a brand new socket on our neck board. Good to go. Now I don't have to worry about this thing pulling on, grabbing onto the neck and not letting go. So we've got our little cover that I'll pop back on. And there we go. All set, brand new socket. Love it. Okay, so that's good. And I wanted to put a new new power connector on, because again, if you remember, this was just like had wire nuts on. So we'll use the existing wire and we'll just clean this up here. Trim off a bunch of this excess. And because this is AC, especially isolated AC, there really isn't a polarity, so I don't think you need to worry about which wire is which. We will trim these down for the crimp. That always scares me a little bit when I take so much off. But you don't want too much wire going into the crimp pin. Okay, we've got our female connector here and our male pins. So I'll get my crimping tool set up. I'm just just a tiny bit of trouble getting the wire in, so I'm going to kind of shave it back a little bit, just so that it's the insulation, just so that it can fit into the crimp pin just a little bit easier. I'm not taking the insulation off, I'm just kind of shaving a tiny bit so that'll go in there better, more easily. Okay. There we go, much better. All right, that looks like a good crimp, and we'll repeat it over here, and I might as well just preemptively trim the insulation a bit. All right, we're good. And we should just be able to slide it onto the connector housing. All right, I think that's pretty good. What do you think? So I think that does it for the chassis. The last couple of things, or three things actually, that I want to do are all on the tube itself, or the yoke. So let's go set up to do that. All right, the three last things that I need to fix before we can put this all back together and test it are the yoke connector, the DAG connector, and the Degauss circuit, right? So even though I believe this is a compatible yoke, the connector is different than what you normally see on a G07. Normally on a G07, you have a connector that's sort of like this size, so a bit bigger, and an important thing is the pinout is very different. So I've got this kind of cheat sheet article that the real Bob Roberts put together like 25 years ago, maybe longer than that, that explains exactly how the G07 yoke connector needs to be and what more typical yoke connectors look like. So I should be all set. What's very likely to happen is when we put this together, we're going to get an inverted image on either or both axes. So the image can be flipped upside down or sort of mirrored left and right, and we'll just have to correct that by putting the yoke wires in the correct position. The thing that you have to be very careful of is that you can't put the horizontal yoke connectors onto the vertical headers or like cross them, right? That's bad news. You can cause a lot of problems, and that's something that I really want to avoid. So the connector that we have now sort of follows the more typical pinout or color scheme where red and blue are next to each other but separated by a large gap, and those are the horizontal windings for the yoke, and the yellow and green are next to each other, closer together, and they are the vertical windings. And if you can see right here on the G07, it kind of interlaces them where the two vertical ones have a horizontal in between, and then the other horizontal pin is all the way to the right. So we're just going to have to make sure that we do that and test it and double check so that we don't cause any problems. So I'm just going to come in here and cut the old connector off. I should have plenty of slack to be able to make the connections that I need. And I'll come in here and just strip a little bit of wire off, enough for my crimp pin, or crimp tool to do its work. All right. And green. Okay, and with those wires stripped, I can come in with my crimping tool and crimp some female pins onto these wires that will then go into the header and then plug into the yoke headers on the chassis. And 4, and I'm actually going to use my multimeter on continuity just to double check that these crimps are good. So here's the, whoa, here's the green one, and I'll go to the green lug. That one's good. Red. Red's good. Blue. And yellow. All right. And I can also use my multimeter on the ohm test, the resistance setting, to confirm that the windings that I think are horizontal and vertical are. So we should get, on the horizontal winding, we should get a lower reading, somewhere around 2 ohms for this type of tube. And on the vertical, we should get a higher reading, around 50 or so ohms, again, for this tube. So with the horizontal one, we're assuming it is red and blue. So let's go and test that out. And we get 2.2 ohms, if you can see that down there, maybe 2.3 on the horizontal winding. And then on the vertical, we're hoping to see somewhere in the vicinity of 50. And we have 45, maybe a little bit lower than we'd like, but I still think this is hopefully going to be a good candidate, or this for swapping with a G07 tube. This is kind of as good as we can expect without having to change out the yoke. So again, following the instructions down here, we want the horizontals to be on these pins. So, and again, there's a wider space, you know, for the extreme right. So I'm going to follow that and plug the red one in here. And hopefully this slips right in. And it looks like it's in there. Good. And I'm going to put the blue one on the other horizontal position right here, which is the second pin. And we'll pop that sucker in. There we go. Those are nice and snug. And with these two, again, I'm assuming that, well, I'm hoping that red goes to red, right? But we're gonna, you know, it's highly likely that we may need to swap these wires around if we're not good. So let's see. Green would have been on position 3, so I'm gonna stick with that theme and put that right here. And that leaves yellow to go right here. All right, so hopefully we've got a good yoke connector setup here. But the only way to know is by testing it. And once we're in good shape, I'll probably put at least 1, maybe 2 zip ties just to hold these wires in place. So I'm going to consider that done for now, or at least to the point where we can test it. The next thing is the DAG connector. So this wire connects a sort of spring-loaded metal strap that touches the back of the tube and connects to a ground point on the neck board. That metal strap sort of makes contact with the aqua DAG that's painted, the graphite sort of coating that's painted on the back of the tube to provide a grounding point. And I don't know, we might be able to see this over here, but there's a little bit of it that's flaking off on this monitor in 2, maybe 3 spots. But it's, you know, it's 98% intact. A little bit of it is wrinkling, but I think enough is there where it's not going to become a problem because it's, I don't have any aqua DAG with me or currently in stock, and to be able to repaint that, although it's very possible to do that. So the other thing is I don't have, you know, sometimes this wire is soldered, but that's a pain to replace every time. And I don't have the right connector, so I cut the connector off the old tube, and I'm actually just going to you know, splice it back in kind of with sort of a J-hook connection. So again, let me come here and I'll pull off a bit of wire here. All right, give this a bit of a twist. Okay, we will make a little J-hook. All right. Oh, and I need to put on my heat shrink tubing first because it's not that easy to add it after the fact. So we've got our heat shrink tubing on. We'll make our hook come in here like so. We'll just squeeze this side together just because this is a much thicker wire over here. And then on this side, we'll kind of, best we can, sort of twist it around. There we go. Yeah. Pretty terrible job, Charlie, but we should be okay. So let me grab my, actually back over here, my handy dandy helping hands, and we will solder this splice. Okay. Looks okay. Release the helping hands. Pull the heat shrink tubing into position and shrink her down. All right, I think that looks pretty good. So the last thing to do is slightly more complicated. So there's a couple things going on here with this, and this is the Degaussing circuit. So this is what it looks like coming off of the donor tube or the replacement tube. It's a different sort of connector here than what we have on the G07 chassis. And let me see if I can kind of pull you in here for a closer look. We've got this kind of doodad thing in here to contend with. That I'm not exactly sure what's going on in here. There's, I don't know if it'll really focus. There's a couple of diodes there, kind of in line. 2 diodes in parallel with one half of the Degaussing circuit. So basically, what I need to do is, you know, cut off the connector on the donor tube and solder it to the back here of this doodad, and we should be good there. And then the other thing I need to do is this the Degaussing wire. Look at that; it kind of burned through and looks like it shorted out and made contact with something hot and metal. So I'm just going to go ahead and replace these 2 runs of wire. I've got some replacement wire, and then I've also got sort of some replacement connectors. So I'm going to do all that, and I'll show you what that looks like when I do it. All right, I've got that Degaussing circuit doohickey thing reconnected, and a new plug on the end of the Degaussing circuit. So I think I'm ready to reinstall this chassis, cross my fingers, and power it up. So let's go ahead and slide the chassis in. like so. Pardon me if my head's in the way. Right, 2 screws. Okay. And what connections do we need to make? This all out of the way. We can put our that over here. We can plug the, this is going to go like this, so we can plug the DAG wire in right here. Actually, I'll put it over here. It's 2 different points for it. Okay. Push that on all the way, gently but firmly. Okay, the neck board is installed. Let's get the anode cup out of the way for now. Come over here with our, okay, the yoke. Go on like this. Okay. And we need the Degaussing circuit. Let's get in tight quarters in here. And yeah, I don't like how that one really wants to touch the, is that R1, I think. So I'm trying to move the wires so that it doesn't go over there and short out the way it did before. So we might have to zip tie something like that. So let's see. Neck board, DAG, Degaussing, yoke. We'll put the anode cup on. Okay, come on. We'll go like this. Okay. And I think we're ready to plug into power. Just looking, making sure I'm not forgetting anything. And I don't think I am. So I've got my little isolation transformer box here. I need a good name for it. My buddy Mark was trying to, and his wife were trying to come up with one. The Chuck box or Charlie box or something like that. I don't know. Let me know if you have any ideas for what I should call this thing. But I showed you how to make one yourself in a previous video, and this is going to provide isolated AC that we need to power the monitor safely. Plug in our little adapter. And power connection. And our ground connection. Okay. I'm going to grab a fire extinguisher. I am a little bit nervous. So, Got my fire extinguisher here ready to go, just in case. I don't think there's going to be a problem, but you never know. So, okay, cross your fingers. Hopefully nothing explodes or gets caught on fire. 3, 2, 1. I don't know if anything's happening. I didn't hear HV. Huh. Turn off the lights and see if there's any net glow. I don't have a video signal hooked up. And I don't think I'm seeing any net glow. Oh, I've got net glow. Okay. That's a good sign. Okay. I'm not going to put the fire extinguisher away. Okay. Let me go grab my TPG and we'll connect a video signal to this thing. But so far, so good. Okay, my Crafty Mech TPG is plugged in. Let's turn it on and let's power up the monitor. And hope we get some kind. Oh my goodness, look at that. Look at that. Holy smokes. We got some issues. But we got a picture. See if we can adjust the focus here. All right. Look at that. Okay. We do have a Degauss issue. Yeah, we've got, let's see. We've got some Degauss problems. We got to adjust the colors. But yeah, that's pretty great. I don't know if I can change no, I can't change those settings on my camera. But all right, we got a little bit of a curl. But hey, we got a picture on this screen. And I don't know what's going on with this Degauss circuit, but yeah, look at that. Let's look at that geometry. Typical G07 curl, but man, I'm really pleased with this. Look at that. All right, I suspect that the built-in Degauss coil is not actually working for whatever reason. I'm pretty sure I connected it to that doohickey right. Maybe I just need to bypass that entirely. I'm not entirely sure, but I do have a manual degaussing coil that I'm going to use to try to take care of it manually. And so basically this is a little handheld device that does what the built-in Degauss circuit should do. And essentially what you do is you kind of start it here in the middle and you go into circles and you get farther and farther away, bigger and bigger circles. And we improved it, but it's not perfect. We still got some of the corner here. So again, I'll start in the middle. A little bit better. We'll keep going. Still seeing a tiny bit over here. Let's see if we can kind of sometimes you just gotta keep doing it. All right, and that's not terrible. Let's Try it one more time. It's not bad. I mean, it's still not quite perfect over here, but I don't want to just keep doing that to death because it gets warm. Try cycling through some of these. Yeah, we need some adjustments for sure, and we still got a little bit of an issue. And I want to figure out what's going on with that Degaussing circuit. But I mean, the tube works, right? And it looks a little bit better in person than it does on camera. That could be the camera setting, so it's really washed out. I bet you I can fix that a little bit. Let's see. Let's bring them over here. Got things kind of a little bit discombobulated. Bring the brightness down a bit. And, oh, I don't know. Anyway, I'll mess with that later by myself, but yeah, I think what turned out to be a disaster isn't so bad. I don't like that gray balance. There we go. Now we have that other gray block there. Yeah, it looks really washed out on camera. Let me quickly change the settings real quick. Yeah, for whatever reason, that's about as good as I can get it to look on camera. It looks quite a bit nicer in person, I assure you. We've got all the colors. We've got good color separation. There's maybe some lines in here. I have some work to do on the geometry and color balance adjustments, but all in all, I am extremely happy with how this rebuild is turning out, including a tube swap with a G07, which is not the easiest thing to do, and cap kit, new flyback. lots of new stuff going on with this chassis, which again, this G07 wasn't even working when I got it, and I'm not entirely sure why. We had 0 volts on the B+, but now we've got an image on the screen, so I take that as a huge improvement. As the rain begins to fall here in Virginia, I think I'm going to wrap it up. Sorry if this wasn't, super exciting. This is kind of stuff that we've done before. Well, I mean, kind of. For the most part, I guess we've never done a tube swap before, so that's definitely new. And we've never done, what else? We've never manually degaussed a monitor, and I'm not entirely sure what's going on with the built-in degauss circuit. We'll have to figure that out. We'll have to figure the geometry and the curl. Maybe we need to do the curl mod, something like that. Yeah, we've got a working monitor at the bare minimum, so that's great. So yeah, I think I'll look to wrap it up here. Want to take a moment to thank everyone for watching this video, especially Overtime Arcade channel members. These are just huge supporters of the channel that I'm so grateful to. They provide they pay $1.99 a month to support the channel. They get access to some great exclusive channel members only perks, including monthly members only live streams, early access to all new videos. So you're probably watching this on Sunday or later. Well, they were watching this video on Saturday. Access to a members only Discord where we've been having a ton of fun just hanging out and chatting and shooting the breeze. But yeah, so thank you to all of those channel members. And if you're interested in learning more about what it's like to become a channel member, hit that join button down below to see what it's all about. And yeah, if you're interested in buying a G07 t-shirt, click the link below. There's also, normal kind of logo wear, that sort of thing. But yeah, I think that, whoa, what was that? Did you see that? Did the screen just flash for a second? Or was I crazy? Anyway, I'll have to go back and look at that footage. But yeah, anyway, thanks for watching Overtime Arcade. Appreciate all the likes, comments, shares, subscriptions, all that sort of stuff. If this is your first time, please consider subscribing. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button. It really means a lot to me, and it tells YouTube to recommend this type of content to people like you. And if you've got a question or a thought on anything, something I could have done better or something I missed, please leave a comment down below. And with that, I think I'll say goodbye. You've been watching Overtime Arcade. I'm Charlie, and I'll see you next time.
Overtime!